the possession and public use of drugs. It addresses the consequences of the Blake decision, and it strikes a sensible, a common sense, and effective policy between accountability and treatment. The bipartisan bill prioritizes treatment. Important, prioritizes treatment over punishment. It encourages law enforcement and prosecutors to divert individuals away from the criminal justice system and towards new pretrial diversion programs, while also giving judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys the flexibility to resolve cases through therapeutic courts or other prosecutorial alternatives. Importantly, and I think this is important, this bill invests $44 million in drug treatment and recovery services, including methadone mobile units, 23-hour crisis relief centers, and housing. It provides resources to actually get this treatment accomplished rather than just some rhetorical flourish. Now, the bill also, importantly, maintains some criminal sanction for those who would not be willing to go into treatment in the first instance. The criminal penalty for drug possession is now a gross misdemeanor, punishable by up to 180 days or 364 days in jail, depending on whether the person has had a previous drug offense. The new crime of drug use in public place is also a gross misdemeanor. Both offenses require proof that drug possession or use was knowingly done. That was required by the Blake decision itself, and that is in the bill. The bill will also provide another $9 million to help pay attorneys who represent individuals charged with these drug offenses. I have to tell you, for folks who listen to the comments on the floor, I think anyone who listened to these human stories of the families of legislators would understand how deeply legislators have taken their responsibilities here. Both parties worked hard to reach this agreement. This is one of the, I think, more successful bipartisan efforts where people from both parties worked really diligently to find a solution, and I appreciate everyone who worked so hard on this. We understand that all families to some degree are affected by this. And this bill, I think, has been a very thoughtful process rather than some emotional response to a devastating problem. It is our deep hope that this will help people away from the scourge of addiction, that will reduce crime overall in our communities, and will help our children be safe from the scourge of drug addiction. I think there's every reason to believe that it will help. And this has been a longer period than many bills to get to my desk, but I do believe this process produced a better bill. And I can tell you that I'm pleased to sign this bill, and I want to thank all the legislators for working so diligently on it. So let's smile for the cameras for a second. All right, thank you. Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Who gets the pen here? Who gets the pen?
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely hers.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Are we standing for any questions? Yeah, why don't you guys stay here in case they ask you hard questions. I'll defer to hard questions to the legislators. Anyone, any press questions? We'll be happy to answer them.
Governor, do you have any concerns that in some communities, smaller communities, that the infrastructure just doesn't exist right now to emphasize treatment over punishment?
Well, I think there was a very solid investment, as I've indicated, and that will be invested statewide. It should be in small communities, as in middle and larger communities. This problem is in every community. We recognize this. This is not just a big city urban issue. It's a rural issue as well. And I think that our office will be diligent to make sure those investments are across the state of Washington. I think that one of the things that, as you consider this is something that all Washingtonians share. Our families, our loved ones, our communities, we all share in this challenge. So yes, I'm confident that this will be a statewide solution to a statewide problem. Anything else?
Studies show addressing, and a lot of them were cited today and during this debate, addressing addiction through the criminal justice system doesn't work. And both sides admit, as we just kind of talked about that we don't have full-scale treatment and recovery programs stood up across the state to solve this problem. So if these studies are right and we continue to experience a major drug problem in the state, how much of that failure do Democrats own?
Well, I think the studies you refer to are studies of the things we're not going to do. Those studies were situations that had a criminal justice response with inadequate treatment responses, without pretrial diversion, without therapeutic drug courts. And I would suggest the studies are, although interesting, they're not giving us, shedding light on what we're going to do, which is to provide treatment big time across the state of Washington, to use the criminal justice system just as a conduit to treatment rather than a conduit to jails. This bill was not designed to fill our jails. It was designed to fill our treatment centers. And so I think those studies studied exactly the thing we're not going to do, which is to have a pipeline to more jail time in our state. So I think that this is on the beam, in my view, to be as effective as possible to get people into treatment. And I believe that for some folks, having that sanction to help them make that decision, not all folks, not the majority of folks, but some folks need a shove to get into treatment. And the reason is because these drugs have stolen the free will of these individuals. And we love them, and we care for them, and we grieve at what they go through. And they need our help. And so our goal is to get them that help. And if it takes a little nudge, I'm fine with that. So that's how I look at this issue. If it doesn't work, we'll be back. And now, listen, and people need to, this is not going to solve the drug problem in the next 24 hours, the next several months. This is an enormous social problem. It affects the whole United States, not just the state of Washington. But I do believe it has every capability of improving this situation by getting thousands of people into treatment. I believe that's going to be a good thing. Anything else? Okay, thanks very much. Thank the legislators for working so hard. They're not getting any overtime.